What's going on, everybody? In this video I'm going to show you how to set up a sidechain like I did in my template that is up for download, just in case you do like the way the sidechaining is set up, because it's very easy but you don't want to use the template. So I've loaded up the default template here and I've created a little example for this video so you can see the mixers the way it was before. I'll make it a bit bigger so it's easier to see, and I'll show you the example track right now. So the kick is just a kick from what is it? It's Black Octopus Monster Kicks, the free pack, and the snare, I don't know where the snare is from. It's in the pack that I gave away for the 1K. I don't know where the snare is from. It's been resampled so many times. I have like freaking 20 of them in my sliced beats, and yeah, so I put it in a pack. And the rest, the bass, the hi-hats, and this thing is all stuff from the same pack that I gave away. These things that I made. This one I made with various samples, but enough about that. Anyways, so I'm gonna send these things to a mixer. So to do that, you just select them all and then go to the mixer and Control-Shift-L, and it'll send it according to the order that you have in your pattern sequencer. So the way I did things is I put a sidechain bus right over here. So everything that gets sidechained will go right in this sidechain bus. This is does not apply to multi-band sidechaining, so you could set up multi-band sidechaining inside this bus with a patcher, I guess. So you could just load up a patcher and inside there split the frequencies and then do the sidechaining separately, but this is just a general overview of how I set things up. So right next to that is the sidechain signal. Now the sidechain signal doesn't go into the master. There's no output right now for the sidechain signal, so I'm gonna deactivate that so we can make it so. Alright, so if you have some drums and things, you can send those to a drum bus, which is nice to have because if you want to mix drums together, glue them together with compression, it's good to have a drum bus. So this is typically how I would set things up. So the drums would be going out or into a pre-master if you choose to do so, and then the sidechain signal in the template comes pre-routed to the sidechain bus. So all that means is I right click this and selected sidechain to this track. So that's how I did that, and if you look at the template, there's also a limiter and an EQ right over here, so I'll go and put that in as well. Oh, and also in the template, it's already selected the sidechain signal, but the threshold and the ratio have not been adjusted yet. So one thing that might have been confusing is that I said all you have to do is link it and then adjust the limiter, but the limiter is already ready to go. That does not mean that the limiter is already sidechaining once you've inputted the sidechain signal. You still have to put the threshold and the ratio down. That's because it's going to be different for every kick or every sidechain signal you use, or anything that gets sidechained, or the track, or how much compression, and these things vary. So you know, the release of your kick, all these things vary, so there's different values that you would use for each scenario, so I chose to keep that blank as kind of a just ready to go kind of thing. Alright, so now that the sidechain signal is sidechaining the sidechain bus, I also put in a parametric EQ to, and those things are muted by default, but I'll unmute it. So then, the way you would activate this sidechain is, first of all, for the limiting sidechain, you would send your kick and your snare to the drums. So the kick and the snare are going to the drums now. To activate the sidechain with the kick and the snare, so the kick and the snare would both be sidechaining it, all you would have to do is click the sidechain signal. You don't have to sidechain it, you just click it so it goes into it, and now you will have a signal not producing audio. You won't have two channels producing the same drum audio. It will just send that signal to the limiter, and then you can sidechain your track. Of course, I have to send my tracks to the sidechain bus first, so the way I did that is I made a new bus for my keys and my bass. So I'm just gonna, instead of making two separate ones for keys and bass, because I think you get the idea, they both go into the sidechain bus after that, I'll just make one bus representing both of those. So I'll send those things straight there. Make sure you don't just do this, because it will be going into the master as well, and then you will experience phasing because you'll have two signals of the same thing with different delays and different phases if you use different plugins, and therefore you'll have some really strange artifacts. So make sure it's not going into the master, just into the bus if you choose to use a bus. So we actually don't have any keys here, but this is just a representation. So now everything's ready to go. The bass is going into the keys, and the keys need to go into the sidechain bus. Now everything's ready to go. So now if you go into your limiter, you should see that things are starting to side. So that purple obviously represents the ducking that it is doing, and this line here shows you how much it's scooping out. And yeah, so it's working. So there's also a second way of sidechaining. Well, it's not really sidechaining, it's ducking in the EQ, and I'm going to show you how I did that as well right now. So on the kick and the snare, I loaded a P controller. I don't know why I always say that. On both of them, each of them. You could put one on the drums, I guess, but I like to put one on each of them because it's more precise. So I'll do that right now. So make sure you unmute it, otherwise it'll mute your sound. And put one on the snare as well if you choose to do so. Note that if you have a long snare with a long tail, it'll take that into account, and it'll sound weird because the peak information will have a long tail, a long release. So make sure you do this with samples that have quite of a short release if you choose to duck in the EQ. So now all you have to do is make sure that it is not too harsh of a signal, unless that's what you're going for. By that I mean if the signal is too loud or going in too strong, it will actually look like it'll do this clipping thing where it'll just cut off the top of it and it'll just extend. So you can adjust that with the volume and as well as the decay, but that will start to cause some weird artifacts if you use this too much. It won't be as smooth, so I'll demonstrate. So right about there is a good range to have the signal, and I'll do the same for the snare. Oh, one thing I'd also like to mention is that the beauty of this setup is if you're sidechain signal for the limiter is too strong, you can turn down this signal and it'll actually decrease the amount of sidechaining because the signal won't be as loud. So it's different ways to adjust this. Back to the EQ ducking. So now that we've adjusted the peak controllers, we can go into the sidechain bus, and in my setup it should already be set up. I don't know if I have a preset for that. Let me check. I don't, but this will do. So I have 3 bands basically. The third band will be for the snare. It'll be set where the snare actually hits. So in this case, probably 200 hertz or something. So it's around 270. I'll copy that. Sidechain bus. Paste that. So that's where the snare would hit. I would make it so it, that's not how I want it. So I would make sure that the amount that it ducks out is basically the width of the snare transient that hits at this frequency. So I'll reset that, and I'll link this band right here to the peak. Now make sure that you invert it and type in 0.5 if you decide to do this yourself. In my template it's already set up, but I invert it and type in 0.5 instead of 1 because this is at 50% and 1 means this, so you don't want it to boost because that will sound pretty strange, I imagine. And invert it because otherwise it'll actually go up and again it'll boost rather than ducking up. So I do the same thing for the kick. I put these where the kick hits, usually like around 50, 55 hertz, sometimes 40, depends on the kick. And this one right around like 90 hertz or so, where a lot of that thump is from the kick. And I will link that to the parametric, again, the peak controller from the kick, and type in the same values, 0.5 and inverted. And there you go. That's basically how my sidechaining is set up, how I routed things. I have more buses for the bass and then different elements that I can just send straight into the sidechain bus. And if you were brave enough to do this in Patcher, you could even do some multi-band sidechaining. I don't even know where the heck Patcher is right now, but yeah, basically what you would do is split your frequencies with an EQ or something like that, and then have a separate limiter for each of those, and then you can send those things back into an output and make things nice and neat. But I don't really do that very often, so thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys have a good one.